If you've had the chance to do some of the reading in the Joseph Goldstein book, the Mindfulness book, you may have recognized a lot of the Satipatthana Sutta in the way I guided that breath meditation today. That meditation was very inspired by just the simple instructions in the sutta of how we attend to the breath, knowing when we're breathing in, knowing when we're breathing out. You know, how we attend to the body and set ourselves up at the beginning of a meditation. How we continue to bring our attention back, our mindfulness back to the breath as the anchor. And how we notice that the breath fluctuates, knowing when I'm breathing in long, knowing when I'm breathing in short, right? Those are parts of the instructions straight out of the Satipatthana Sutta. It's how people have been practicing mindfulness of breathing for 2,500 years at least. So you could say it stands the test of time. And I think it's important for us to really be grounded in this as mindful movement teachers, to be really grounded in mindfulness and in the root text of the Satipatthana Sutta from the Buddhist tradition. And it can be quite an inspiration for our movement practice, especially given that the body is the first foundation of mindfulness in this teaching, in this really core teaching on what mindfulness is. So right now we are studying mindfulness of the body. We will stay on that foundation for a few weeks. And right now within that, we're looking at breath meditation, because breath is one of the expressions of mindfulness of the body. And I know that in that reading, one of the comments that Joseph Goldstein makes is that mindfulness of breathing is not a breathing exercise. So I'm wondering if you picked up on that and how that landed for people, if that was a or if that was familiar. The benefits of more receptive breathing or more observation mode, right? Just not necessarily changing the breath or doing anything intentional with it, but just using it as an anchor for the present moment, letting the breath breathe itself. We do this in our mindfulness meditation, and at times in a movement practice or yoga practice, like in Shavasana, right? When we do Shavasana at the end of a yoga practice, that's not really intended to be a time when we're really like working on the breath or deliberately manipulating the breath, right? We just kind of let go and rest into the body breathing itself, right? So that's a bit more of a breath meditation, if anything. So there is a place for that kind of passive breathing, even in yoga. The breath is a link to the present moment, right? The breath can only happen in the present moment. Like this breath you're breathing right now, that's happening now. It's so obvious, right? But it's a great thing to point out because, before anyone told you that, did you know that, right? Could you use that as a way to return to the present moment? Oh, this breath right now. So pointing that out to our students can be really simple and really useful. That just observing the fact that we're breathing is a way of coming into contact with the present moment, our aliveness right now, the freshness of this breath, this moment. And practicing in this way, this more receptive or passive or observational style of breathing, is a huge lesson in just learning to be with what is, which is a huge part of mindfulness. It's a big skill that we gain in our mindfulness practice. Just learning to be with the breath as it is, to let it be short when it's short, to let it be rough when it's rough, to let it be deep when it's deep, without necessarily moving into fixing it or improving it. That's a skill we learn with the breath that we can apply then to other sensations in the body, learning to be with discomfort, learning to be with pleasure. Also feelings, learning to be with that bubble of anger or anxiety that's hard to be with. Also learning to be with the joy when it's like big or unfamiliar. Learning to be with the thoughts that arise, all of our different experiences. This is a skill of allowing, of sitting with, of getting to know our experience without interpretation, without manipulation, and then with more clarity, right? Thus, with more clarity, which allows us then to have a more appropriate and non-reactive response, to take the next action out of that clarity and out of that ability to be with what is. So we can learn that just from mindful breathing. Isn't that kind of amazing? That just being with the breath as it is can translate into a huge transformative skill set